Good morning. It's great to be here. Thank you very much, Jeanette, and also Hedayah. So without wasting much time, I will be discussing about jihadism, digitalism, and the use of all tech by violent extremists in Nigeria. Just to put a bit of context into it, so there are three primary jihadi groups in Nigeria. There's Boko Haram, ISWAP, that's the Islamic State in West Africa province, and of course Ansaru. So this presentation is divided into three sessions. I'll go through them very quickly. So the first session will give a bit of an introduction. Then, of course, I'll talk about jihadism and violent extremism in Nigeria. And then the second session will talk about digitalism and the use of all tech by VEOs, and of course also how they use these tools before attacks and after attacks. And then the third session will discuss a bit of key findings and the way forward. So just a bit of an introduction. Like I mentioned already, there are three primary jihadi groups in Nigeria. You have Boko Haram, the Islamic State in West Africa province, and Ansaru. Just to quickly mention, Ansaru was the first breakaway faction of Boko Haram. So there was some internal fightings within Boko Haram in 2012. And so Ansaru broke away because they felt Boko Haram at the time was a bit too stringent in their measures. And then after Ansaru broke out, they went underground. And then ISWAP in 2015 also broke away from Boko Haram. So you've got Boko Haram core, you've got ISWAP, and then you've got Ansaru. And of course, all three jihadi groups use various forms of social media and alt tools for propagating their agenda, which essentially is intended at establishing an Islamic caliphate in Nigeria. Some of the activities that they carry out include suicide bombings, kidnappings for ransom, mass killings, laying ambushes against the Nigerian military, and the likes of that. Boko Haram's original name is Jamaatul al-Rusi Sunni Lida Wati wal Jihad, so also known as JAS or JAS-J. So if you hear me mention JAS-J, I'm just referring basically to Boko Haram, even though they don't like being called Boko Haram. That was an appendage given to them by reporters in the international community. It was originally formed in 2002, and then it became violent in 2009 after its original founder, Muhammad Yusuf, was killed in police custody. As I already mentioned, Ansaru was the first breakaway faction, and then they had ISWAP. Boko Haram's leader, known as Shekau, was killed in May 2021. And so, as a result, what's left of Boko Haram has moved to the fringes of the Lake Chad Basin region and has been led by Bakura. So it's called the Bakura faction. Boko Haram has been responsible for the deaths of over 350,000 people since 2019 down to 2021 and more. And of course, it's led also to the displacement of over 2.3 million people. So some of the tools mostly used by these groups include Telegram, Facebook, WhatsApp, and Rocket Chats. And of course, they use other tech tools like satellites, Android phones, high-speed printers, laptops, high-definition cameras, clip-on microphones, walkie-talkies, so many of them, including drones, by the way. Boko Haram uses drones, and I'll come to that in a bit. So to your right, yes, you have a screenshot of some of the videos used by Ansaru, which is the first breakaway faction of Boko Haram, and on Facebook. So they put up some of their information on Facebook. And also before their attacks, particularly JAS and ISWAP, utilize Telegram. So they mostly communicate on Telegram prior to their attacks. Also after their attacks, they also disseminate information on Telegram. But just something to also mention with regards to during their attacks, they use WhatsApp to communicate during attacks, to mobilize and coordinate. But before the attacks, they disseminate information using Telegram, and also after the attacks, they use Telegram as well. To your right, also you have a screenshot of a WhatsApp group chat by some of these groups. So I also mentioned they mostly use WhatsApp during attacks, but before they use Telegram. They've also, so ISWAP in particular has well over 50 Telegram accounts, for different purposes, so it's always very difficult to know which one they're using to disseminate information at every given point in time. Telegram is the preferred, tool for communicating because there are more difficulties with regards to monitoring and restrictions, particularly given the fact that the Nigerian military in more recent times have made significant inroads, in penetrating these accounts. So they've mostly tried to shift away from the use of Telegram to also rocket chat in more recent times. Something to mention which is very important is in terms of giving admissions into these groups. So as part of their criteria for selection, for admittance, when you try to gain access to this group, they first of all ask you for the name of your commander, to which group you belong to, that's your Qaid. And then after which, if you pass through that, they ask you which command you belong to, that's your Jaish. But if you fail these questions, of course, they kick you out. And then they keep an eye on you because they think you're from the intelligence agencies or something, or perhaps from the Nigerian military. And like I already mentioned, they are beginning to use rocket chat because they found that this appears to be more comfortable for them to use, given the clampdowns they've had with Telegram. And so the third and final session, just some quick key findings. ASWAP mostly uses WhatsApp to communicate, also within, prior to the attacks, and also during their attack. So they've used Telegram, but they've become more increasingly comfortable using WhatsApp and also Rocket Chat. And Sauru, which I mentioned, used to be the first breakaway faction, went underground for a long time, and they've only just resurfaced in recent times using WhatsApp and also Telegram. But also, very interestingly, they've also used, in more recent times, Facebook. And they've used Facebook both in Hausa language, which is a dominant local language in Nigeria, in the northern region, and also they use English. ISOP also has relied significantly on the use of satellite internet, including Thuraya mobile Thuraya devices, costing as much as $6,000 for data monthly. And most of their funding comes from kidnappings for ransom. And Al-Qaeda affiliated VEOs, so those include particularly JAS, are more sophisticated in terms of disseminating information compared to ISWAP in Nigeria. So some of my thoughts on the way forward in terms of policy recommendations are that there's a need to redefine Nigeria's counter-terrorism strategy to include more robust digital capabilities and improve tech governance. I also believe very strongly that there's a need for more mass public awareness campaigns to make the people more cognizant of some of those mediums used by these terrorist groups, because essentially they try to leverage the grievances, local grievances, to try to get people to join their cause. And also there's a need to strengthen and of course improve cyber security around cyber warfare. So Nigeria is the first country in the African continent that has a cyber warfare command. And they're also the first to have a DSA, that's the Defense Space Agency, and also the Office of National Security Advisor has a dedicated team working on countering violent narratives online and through social media. And of course, last but not least, is the need for improved collaboration both with indigenous and of course non-indigenous tech companies, which I believe have a significant role to play with regards to curbing the threats posed by jihadists and violent extremist organizations. Thank you very much.